I called the cops and they go, where'd it happen? And I'm like, they won't tell me. And they're like, well, we don't know what jurisdiction. We don't know if it's highway patrol or the sheriff, or we don't know what's going on. So
Yeah, it's good measure if you do that to go back the next day and try to at least get your license plate. But um,
the license plate of my vehicle. So, so I called the sheriff that towed it. I said, I'm bringing it right to you. I want a police report right now. And you guys knew you towed it. You know what condition it was in. Now it's been destroyed. Long story. God, that was like 20 years ago. Um,
okay, we are good to go here, folks. Sorry about the cross talk, but Corey had a kind of a crazy incident happen at his house where a drunk driver went in and crashed into like all the cars on his street. So, um, and he just got his police report. But this is Quantum Leap, and we like to break the ice a little bit with kind of a little chit chat. But my name is David Kirsten. I'm a video producer for business and podcaster, and my co-host Cory and I is a business partnership coach, and we actually have a exciting guest on today, Mark Cooper, who's actually our B&I director, consultant, and expert commercial property realtor. And Corey, if you want to give an additional introduction, feel free. Otherwise, if you're happy with me introducing you, that's fine too.
Yeah, so I'm Cory and I, and as you said, a business partnership coach, and I've known Mark quite a long time. We've both been B&I directors together. He's one of the top directors in the areas for, in terms of giving referrals, getting referrals. He's very good at the B&I game, and so well worth learning from in all cases. And his chapter has also been very successful. Growth, and what can I say? I mean, if you're around the Marin County area, you probably see his signs everywhere. And so it's almost.
We actually used to have a contest. If you did a selfie and posted it on social media, you got 2 free movie tickets.
Oh, there you go.
It was pretty cool. You had to tag yourself, tag me, post on social media, and that was pretty cool. We had a lot of activity on that, but I had to stop it. When the promotion's going too good. We also had the lost golf ball. I used to have a golf ball that said "reward if found," and it had my phone number on there, and I'd give people $20, and then they'd post. We put that on social media. It was pretty cool. Everybody was
Yeah.
looking for my golf ball. They were actually digging in my golf bag, and then they'd come back like a week later and go, "Hey, I found your ball." So
Yeah, I played that course out there, San Geronimo. They got some beautiful golf
they
courses.
shut that down,
Oh,
David.
really?
They pulled the
Okay.
plug on that one. It was sold
Okay.
back for open space, I think. Corey, do you know much about San Geronimo?
I remember when we lived out in Nicasio that there was like a whole battle going on over Save San Geronimo, and they pretty much lost. I mean, it just didn't work out.
It was pretty far out in West Marin. I played a tournament or two out there. I think I played 2 tournaments that were pretty fun at San
Yeah.
Geronimo.
Well, I think it's water and space and all the other things. Just they couldn't win that battle against the.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, let's just get to you, Mark, and if I don't have your full bio here, if you just can tell us who you are and what you do.
Thank you, David. So my name is Mark Cooper. I work with HL Commercial. Our one and only office here is in Marin County in San Rafael. I live in Tiburon, and I handle the sales of investment property in Marin, Sonoma, and Contra Costa for the most part. Bars and restaurants, apartment buildings, warehouses, owner user opportunities. A lot of people are sick and tired of renting, and they get an SBA loan and buy something with 10% down. And oftentimes it doesn't cost much more money than what they were paying before in rent. You know, if somebody's been renting a place for 20, 30 years, they're kicking themselves. They should have bought 20 years ago or more. So I help a lot of those folks, and we get it done. I do about a sale a month and 2 leases a week. We just did a dental office yesterday, and I'm trying to think. I just did a hair salon too. We just signed the lease this morning, so that's pretty cool. Blistering paste. I've got a team of guys here that help out, and I'm heading to Europe next week, so I've got to have people cover for me. We can't let commercial real estate come to a screeching halt because I'm on vacation, so we got to keep that going. So I hope that helps. I've been B&I about 17 years, and I've gotten some great referrals. Amazing. Some uh, properties that our company manages that's been going on for years and years, and they make about 4% of the gross rent. So they might bring in $50,000 a month from BNI referrals,
Great. Yeah. And I
which is
know we were
great.
looking at some numbers the other day, and we'll keep that discussion open. But I think a lot of businesses probably don't realize how affordable actually some of the commercial properties can be as opposed to, real estate. $1 million might get you a shack and kind of like a quarter acre or something, but you can find things for small business owners that might be even more attractive than buying a home and for
Yeah,
you to
like I've
do.
got something in San Anselmo right now. It's $695,000, and it's a two-tenant retail space. So if somebody was paying rent, they could buy this building, 10% down, 70, $80,000, and rent the other side out to someone else, which is pretty darn cool and unprecedented for San Anselmo. Those properties hardly ever turn over, and a couple years ago, anything on the street would have been $1 million. So that's a pretty good one. I've got a four-building complex in Richmond that are industrial buildings, street-to-street lot, and that's 2.5 million. And we just brought that to market. There's a lot of interest out there, so that's cool. It's we're on Second Street off of like Cutting and Canal.
Oh, great. And
Yeah.
did want to we like to often start out with just a little assessment of the market, what's going on in the commercial space right now.
I was gonna say, can we cuss on the podcast? Um, so so fortunately for me, we don't do Class A office. And Class A office is like a high-rise building, lots of glass, elevators, big fancy lobby, music's playing and stuff like that. Though that part of the industry has really been hit hard because when COVID came along, folks were working, they started working remotely and they realized I don't need to go back to the office for this. I could telecommute. I mean, everybody's zooming. I had some guys in Mill Valley, and they had a fancy office downtown, like 101 California. So there was four guys that were four partners. They all lived in Mill Valley, and they realized to go have a meeting in San Francisco, they all had to hop in their cars, drive across the Golden Gate Bridge, park, and then get into the office and sit down. They bought a building in Mill Valley, and the payments were less than they were paying in rent. And they got a beautiful property 5 minutes from their house. So you don't need the big full floor 25,000 square foot thing, especially in Marin County because the cost of living is so high. Most of those employees could live more economically, like in the East Bay or Stockton or Modesto or something like that, where they have these big corporate centers. So Marin is no longer the big office capital of the Bay Area, and I'm not in that industry. So we do like B and C office. I'll do retail spaces, small warehouses, incubator spaces, 1,000 to 5,000 square feet. And so things are going great, knock on wood. I mean, as long as people are moving in the industry, we do really well here. And to sell one a month and 2 leases a week is a blistering pace. And I've been keeping that up for years. So when people ask me how's the market, it's like, it's fantastic. It really is. And I feel fortunate. I used to think, God, if I was only going to do one thing, I would love to just sell apartment buildings. I love selling apartment buildings. I do a deal, $2-3 million deal. It's just as much work as selling a $500,000 property. You make a nice big paycheck. I could do maybe 4 of those a year and I'd be fine. But the apartment buildings right now are just not selling because of the interest rates being higher than the rate of return. So if that makes any sense, in our industry, we've got something called a cap rate, which is an annual rate of return expressed as a percentage. So, for example, like if you got money in the bank right now, what are the banks paying you at like a CD? I love the faces, the expression. So a CD right now might pay you about 4%, right? If you stuck money in the bank, they'll pay you 4%. And if you got to borrow money, they want to get 6% if you're going to borrow money. That's their margin between what they're paying the borrowers and what they're paying the people that are gaining interest. So the challenge is for years, the interest rates were down, and that kind of set the precedent of I could buy a building that pays a 4% return. I can borrow at 3% and make a profit. Well, now that the interest rates are higher, it's like, can I buy a building at 4% and the interest rate is 6% and the margin is just going to crush you? You could put 50% down and break even, where before you put 30% down and you had a profit. So the assets, like apartment buildings, that were selling at a 4% return are not selling at all right now, because you can get more money by putting in a US Treasury bill or a CD in the bank and not have to worry about earthquakes and floods and tenants and property management and everything else. The apartment industry has been crushed, and the office industry is really struggling. I don't do that much of either, so I'm pretty safe. I used to kind of joke and say that, what did they say on the internet? They can't really sell paint or gasoline or on the internet, so like you still got to go to Home Depot to buy some paint. They're not going to ship you a whole bunch of paint. That's something they just don't sell. So there's some industries that are kind of recession proof. And
Yeah, good to hear. Well, looks like you picked the right field there for the Bay Area at least, and you got a nice chunk of your area up there in Marin as well, which you know well, and you've been working for a while. So, but my last question before I turn it over to Corey is, why does it make sense for a business owner, or why might it make sense for a business owner, small business, to buy a commercial building as opposed to renting?
okay. So first of all, a rent is just an expense that you pay, and you're not building any equity. Also, you might want to do some substantial improvements to your space. We got a band. I'm in the B&I band in our chapter, and one of the guys, the locksmith, has got a little place like a recording studio. And I was in there going, man, it'd be really cool if there were some recessed lights in here, and we should take this wall out. And I want to do all these improvements to the recording studio, but we're just throwing that money away. We don't own the property, right? If you own the property and you want to do improvements, maybe even above and beyond the building standard, eventually you're just fixing up somebody else's property. And you're building equity, you're fixing up your place, and there's a lot of incentives like an SBA loan where you can put 10% down, and the government and the banks help businesses get out of that renting cycle and get into something. I mean, California is amazing with appreciation of real estate values. I look at stuff that, maybe I was talking to one guy yesterday. He bought a commercial condo for $40,000 in 1975, and that's worth over $400,000 now. And it was he could have rented that whole time and just threw the money away, but he was a dentist. He bought a commercial condo, $40,000. Now he's renting it out for $3,700 a month, and you can sell it for over $400,000. So it just makes so much sense if you can buy, to do it, to pull the trigger and get it done. Some people, like a restaurant, usually doesn't buy the real estate because they make more money by with opening another location if they could turn around and make 20-30% on their investment. Well, you can't do that with real estate. So there's a few things like retail and restaurants where it doesn't make sense to buy unless you're just rolling in dough. Corey, you have some experience with restaurants and food, right?
It has been some time, and I wouldn't really say, but definitely in food distribution, but restaurants not 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I think restaurant, I forgot what the statistics are, but it's like 85% of restaurants fail. So I love cooking. But I don't want to be stuck in some place where you're just like, schlepping the food. And
Yeah.
that's a tough business. I do restaurants and I help people. And unless they have multiple successful locations, man, oh man, you don't want to sink your life savings into a restaurant. And I've seen it a couple of times. They come into some money and they're like, I'm going to open up a taco place.
It can be a very good business if it's done right, but from the start, find somebody who can help you with I'd say the restaurant coaching. Find a partner and hire me, and I'll help with the along. But the point being that a lot of people who go into the restaurant business are not good at business. I mean, it's common across it, but it's the one place you can't be, right? I love watching the Ramsey shows, and it's always sad how people are hundreds of thousands in debt. There's no way out.
What about that Restaurant Impossible? Have you seen that one where they just come in and oh man,
it's a tough business.
I had one. So I don't do a lot of business opportunities. Typically, when I do a restaurant deal, we call it key money. So you're paying so much money for the keys and all the fixtures and the equipment in here. I don't want to look at your receipts. I don't want to look, I don't want to look at your profit and loss and all this other stuff. A guy could spend $30,000 on cash on meat and then not show it on the books and act like his business is making all this money. Or the guy can work like a dog 7 days a week and not pay himself.
Yeah.
And then you think that you're going to be able to hire someone to manage or do the restaurant. I had a restaurant, they called me up and they go, hey, we want to sell our business. And there was a line out the door at this sandwich shop. And I went in the back and I said, well, let me look at the P&L. Typically what we'll do for a business is that if there is value there, it might be double the net or 3 or 4 times the gross or something like that. That would be the value of the business. So I walk into this place, they show me the numbers, and they're losing money. They've been losing money for years. And she said to me, so what do you think my restaurant's worth? And I said, 0. Your restaurant is worth. You can't make this profitable. Why would someone else pay for that? And she turned to me and said, but I have all these recipes for everybody loves our soup. There's a line out the door. She'd have to charge $50 for a bowl of soup for this place to make any sense. And they don't get it. Or they'll be like, hey, I bought this business for $200,000 and I put my life savings in here. I need to make $200,000 back. And it's like, your business is not worth that much money. Yeah. Now, if they own the real estate, typically that's where the value of the business is. Some mechanic shop and the guy wants to sell his business. Well, he's the guy with the wrench that sticks in the car. He's not going to sell his list of clients, but the building might be worth $2 million that he bought, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, there are some restaurant consultants, but you know how few restaurant coaches there are? Almost none. Why? Because it is like working with artists, right? And it's working in produce, which I think is a great business if you're in commercial real estate, is finding those produce companies. They stick around forever. It's just they're always fighting with restaurants. It's just
I've been doing a lot of dental lately, and I really, really enjoy it. The dental work, these dental offices. Either they'll do a 10-year lease or they'll buy the building and then they gut it and make it state of the art. And it's just like it's a lot different than like a therapist that was looking for a little office that 3 days a week. So these guys are savvy business people. The dentists, I love them.
I think
take them home with me.
a conversation here, but commercial real estate is an interesting game, huh?
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's a good time, and I'm really liking the postcards too because nobody else is doing them. The just listed and just sold. I do a lot of these things.
Oh yeah.
And, one tip. I don't know how many listeners you got, but I never put the price on there, what it sold for. So they get this in the mail in their neighborhood, and they go, "Holy crap! Cooper sold another one." So they got to call me and say, how much did it sell for? Who bought it?
Right.
If you give them too much information, they got no reason to call you. So
I think one thing I really about Mark stuff, and you can say more to this, is that, in business and any business, I think you find a niche and you really, really utilize that. And if it doesn't work at first and you keep trying and it still doesn't work or you don't like it, you can change, but we have a tendency to want to cast a wide net. And I know Mark could probably work everywhere in California, right? I mean, you're licensed.
I won't even do San Francisco.
Doesn't really. And you
could if you wanted to.
Right. And I think that's one thing I think worth learning from Mark is success, especially in the referral game, comes from being very niched.
Yeah, it's funny. When I first got my license, my family and a couple people I knew had land, vacant lots all over California. And they thought they were going to kind of land bank. They're going to buy it and then wait for the market to turn and then sell this stuff. So we had some property down in Joshua Tree, and I get these things in the mail. It would say, hey, we'll buy your lot, blah, 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 blah. Cory, you got one. We'll buy your lot. So I would follow up on a few of those. And at one point, I got a letter from Joshua Tree National Park that said, hey, we'll buy your lot. And I called them up and I said, is this thing for real? And they go, yeah, I don't know, Clinton administration gave money to the parks And so they were buying up these outlying lots that were along the periphery. Well, so many people had been solicited so long about their lots that were all scams that they weren't responding to these letters from the park. And I sold probably 400 acres near Joshua Tree because I was able to research these things and say, hey, I have sold lots out here. There's a government program. Are you interested in looking at an offer? And the great news about land is that the commission is 10%, typically because the values are lower. So there's a 10% commission. Everybody's happy. But I got it. Early on, I was doing land all over California, and somebody would call me up and go, "Hey, I saw your lot in Costa Mesa. I want to build 8 apartment units. I want to build 8 units." And I said, "Well, this is an R4 lot. You can only build 4." And the guy goes, "What else you got?" And I'm like, "Well, actually, I'm up in San Francisco Bay Area. I have nothing else in that county." And every place that where I tried to work, there was some local guy who had signs all over town, knew everybody, knew the history of the property, knew all the buyers and the sellers. And that guy just had all the business tied up. Every time I tried to break into Kern County, India, San Bernardino, Riverside County, I had a few little handful of listings, but there'd be some guy that was the guy. And through BNI, it taught me to have a geographic and a demographic area. And now I'm the guy for Mill Valley. I'm the guy for San Anselmo. My competitors, they just call me up. One guy did this morning. "Hey, what do you got in town? I've got a buyer." Instead of trying to look on the internet and stuff, they just call me. So now I'm the guy. And some people go, "Oh, San Anselmo, the population is what, 7,000? I could never make any money there." And I go, "Great. Stay out of it. Stay away. Everything's cool." I had a guy in Novato, and I said, "Tell you what, I'm not really interested in working in Novato. You stay up in Novato, and I won't go up there, and I'll just take Mill Valley and San Anselmo and stuff like that." Well, this is pretty funny. I don't know if you can see this. What does this say right here? Novato. So now I'm doing a little Novato. Oh, that guy retired. The truce is over.
Yeah, just a quick time check here. We got about 3 minutes. I thought we might close with just your why, Mark, why you do what you do, and then your ideal client.
Wow. So I'll start off by saying the pandemic year was like the best year of my entire life. I was working way too much, working in the business way too much, and they shut everything down. They shut down real estate offices. Everybody had the stay-at-home order. I had a connection up in Lake Tahoe, and I spent 21 days snowboarding that March. 21 days straight snowboarding. They shut down the ski area, so I was a backcountry skier. Not only did they shut down the ski areas, but they got 3 feet of snow and nobody could get anywhere. So I started playing music, growing organic vegetables. I make my own furniture out of reclaimed wood. I'm just living life the best that I can and really enjoying things. And I love my kids. I love my family and my friends. And I would say that's my why. Each year, my boss will come to me and go, "Wow, Cooper, you had a great year. What do you think for 2024? And my answer is always this: "Bob, I just want to make the same amount of money and work less. That's all there is to it. I don't need to make any more money. This is cool. I mean, what is it? How many boats do you need to water ski behind?" One, right? So I would say that's kind of my why. And I'm really fortunate to come home to a beautiful wife who comes down and greets me at the door when she sees me pulling up the driveway. My ideal client, I like people who are savvy about money and they've inherited some property in Marin County and they're ready to sell it. They're motivated. Maybe they have an idea about what they want to do. Sometimes there'll be a death in the family and they have a stepped up basis, so they have no capital gains. And I got a referral like that recently from my friend Brian Ripley. And I'm working on some stuff in Sausalito. I would say Bridgeway, Throckmorton, Miller Avenue, San Anselmo Avenue. Those owners who are ready to sell their property and price it right and get it done, that's my ideal client. So I hope that
Okay,
helps.
perfect. Well, we are at time. Thanks for everything, Mark. Where are you headed in Europe, by the way? Just a quick.
I'm going to fly to Barcelona and spend about 5 days there. And then I'm going to go to Rome and Florence and take the train. And then we had one extra day, and my wife and I just went like this on the map. And then we got like an Airbnb that's in Tuscany that's out in some town we never heard of. So stay tuned. But I think it's going to be hard to go wrong out there.
Yeah, great. Well, good to hear, and thanks for coming on. Check in with us when you get back, and we look forward to seeing you. Maybe not so soon, but at some point this fall.
Yeah, and come to the Battle of the B&I Bands, December 8th in Petaluma.
Okay, very good. I'll help
All right.
promote that. Send me the flyer when you got it.
Yeah, I'll send you a little one-page slide. Thanks, you guys.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Cory.
Thanks for
Bye,
joining
David.
us.
Thank you.